and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles. I am delighted to be joined with the amazing filmmaker Paige Compton on set. She's currently on set and taking the time to talk to us. A Joshua Tree. Paige, how are you doing over there?
Pretty good. I'm helping I'm friends with the producer and I'm helping him out on this shoot. So not directing, but learning a lot as usual, as every set does.
Well, what a good friend that you are, and they're lucky to have you. But we loved your film Guide On so much. I can't wait to talk to you about it. But for those that haven't seen it, let's take a look at a clip.
You want to stand out? You want to be recognized?
This is my precious Guide On. I need a volunteer to carry it. I want to carry the Guide On, Drill Sergeant.
Listen, thank you for your film, okay? Thank you for your incredible service to this country, being part of our NewFilmmakers LA veteran cinema program. You're so talented and we appreciate you on many different levels. But today is about you and about Guide On, and I am in love with this film. But for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis of your film.
Well, there's Hallie Varro, and she's on her first day of basic training. And she wants to carry the Guide On, which is the flag of the unit. And her drill sergeant doesn't think she's up to snuff because she's never had a female Guide On before. So she spends the rest of the movie trying to prove her worth. And yeah, I won't spoil it.
Don't spoil it. We'll allude to it. We'll allude to it. Well, goodness me, you know what it's like serving your country. So it was really, really special to have a film like this, come from a heart and someone that really understands, about this particular role, what it stands for, the fact that there, isn't many females that get this, opportunity, which is a sad fact. And it needs to change. And so it was really special coming from particularly your perspective, Paige, as a filmmaker and as a veteran. But for you personally, where did the inspiration come for you in deciding to turn this story into a film?
It's actually loosely based on an experience I actually had in basic training. So the real story goes like this. I was in basic training for the Army, and it was like day 3, and I saw another unit out practicing for graduation. And they're all in their uniforms, and you can't tell who's who, but what you can see is the person carrying the Guide On, like carrying the flag. And I thought to myself, I'm like, that's what I need to do, because I want my mom to be able to point me out and feel proud of me, and have that good, motherly moment as parents tend to do. So there was already a guy that was assigned the Guide On. He was like the biggest dude in the unit, and he was just like bitching and complaining like the whole time about doing it, didn't want to do it. So I was like, you don't want to carry the Guide On? He's like, no. And I'm like, all right, let's go talk to the drill sergeant. So it seems so casual in this story, but it's not a casual thing. So we go to the drill sergeant, and the drill sergeant's like, what do you want? And the guy's like, I don't want to carry the Guide On anymore, drill sergeant. And drill sergeant's like, what? Esprit de corps, unit colors, like you don't want to represent blah, 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 blah. The guy's like, no, drill sergeant. And he like snatches the Guide On away. And he's like, get out of my sight. You disgust me. And I'm still standing there, and he's looking at me, and he's like, what do you want? And I was like, I want to carry the Guide On, drill sergeant. And he gets about 2 inches from my face, and he goes, I have never had a female Guide On before. And he throws the Guide On, like literally throws it at my chest. And he's like, keep the fuck up. And then proceeds to like try to find creative ways to break me throughout the next 2.5, 3 months of training. So it was like taking taking that personal experience and boiling it down to like 15 minutes was probably the biggest challenge and the biggest learning curve that I had throughout this entire project, because, you know, they say write what you know, but which is helpful because it gives you a foundation to stand on, but it's really hard as well to maintain that because I think for me it was finding what translates to an audience and what has an audience get emotional about than what actually made me feel emotional in the moment that it happened in real life, because it's two different things, you know. So
Paige, I'm so proud of you that you just stood up that day. You know, I mean, that is amazing, and well done to you. And you know, sorry it was harder for you than it probably would have been for him. You know, but I'm so proud that you stood your ground like that and did what you did, because I mean, I found your film tremendously inspirational. You know, it was so well put together, and I can't imagine what you went through. I mean, I wanted a feature film. I'm just saying, okay, I was like, I could watch a feature film about this story, about Guidon. Like it was so good to watch. You know, I mean, carrying it from a personal story, from the perspective of being in the army, et cetera, and then directing this, you know, and telling this story. You had a brilliant cast. I just want to let you know, and the person that kind of played, you know, your character, so good. I was completely, you know, mesmerized by the performances. Tell us a little bit about how you brought your cast together. I mean, they all seemed like they were in the military, and the set and everything. Like, it was fascinating to watch.
I was incredibly proud of my cast. They really pulled it off. I had one cast member that was an actual veteran. He's an Air Force veteran. That was my male drill sergeant, Ronan. And he just had to translate, because there's different cultures for different branches of the military. So I had to take him from the Air Force and like just kind of teach him the Army stuff, but he fell right into it. My main drill sergeant, Kiara, she's playing Drill Sergeant Mallet, never was in the military. And she really put her heart and soul into it. She really wanted to make sure this character came across convincing. And she did such a good job. Like for my main guys, for Chantel, main character, Halle Vero, for Brody that she plays against, and my two drill sergeants, I created a playlist on YouTube of like, and you can find these videos where it's like actual drill sergeants explaining like how to stand and how to march and how to speak and all of that, like actual military instruction. And it was, I think, the thing that helped them the most, because it gave them like a crash course into the culture of the Army, and especially my drill sergeants on that inflection and rhythm and the way that drill sergeants speak. And I was so proud of Kiara, really, because I mean, the big thing for me was when I finally like finalized everything in post, I sent my film to a couple of my veteran friends that were in the Army with me, and they watched it and they got back to me. They're like, was the female drill sergeant, was she in the military? And I was like, nailed it. Because they were experienced, and they had no idea that she had never been in. She blew me out of the water. And then Chantel, just like with the minimal lines that she had, and just everything was there. Like, you knew exactly what she was thinking in that moment. Like, even though she wasn't allowed to speak, killed it. Just absolutely killed it.
I can't believe she's not in the military. Like, I swear, like everything about her, like, just even when they were pulled up in the open scene on the bus, like, I could feel all that, the mind just ticking away from a standpoint of, you know, joining the Army, being in the military, what you're about to go into, what you're about to be up against, like all of those things. Like, there was every single moment. It was so wonderfully shot as well. Like, I love how you just captured these very significant moments when you're in the drill. very significant things that are allowed and what is not allowed, and how that kind of differentiated with how your tone is to how you stand, all those things. I was just in it. So yes, very convincing, Paige. You did a great job with your actors for sure. This is again, it's a very special film. We've got great love for the military, and I think we're always kind of, we never really get to see this side into the drills. And I think sometimes it's a little bit too commercial and stereotypical, whereas I really felt this was really real and it felt really authentic. Was that kind of something as well that you wanted to sort of showcase to your audience?
Yeah, that was I think my second biggest struggle outside of taking a personal story and boiling it down to its essentials. The next struggle was the only other person on my team that was prior military, this AFI thesis, so we have the different departments from the school, was my cinematographer, Dae Kim. Extremely talented. A lot of those shots were very much a collaborative effort between me and him. Like he was in that mindset with me and we were like synced up. Just incredible cinematographer. Remember, like, there's people like me in the Army. There's people like you in the Army. There's like petite women. There's like, college grads. There, like, that was, oh man, I mean, stories on stories, but like a big thing for me was when I got to basic training, because that's the culture shock. That's the initial culture shock, is when you get to basic training. And for me, it was like, there's people literally from all over the world. First of all, it's not just American citizens. It's people that are wanting to be American citizens as well. And then on top of that, it's like this melting pot where you just take all these people from all over the world, all different states, you put them into one place. And then you've got people that like their option was either jail or the military. Then you've got people that are like, they have master's degrees, they're enlisting because they just want to serve, like, and then everything in between, like people that just need some money for college. So they decided to serve their country to get that money, because that was one of their few options. And you've got other people that needed a skill set that they didn't have access to in the civilian world. Like it's such a unique and incredible place. And I feel like I'm getting off on a tangent that
you are not. I was just about to say, Paige, I was just about to say that I'm so glad that you're sharing these real things, these thoughts with us, because these are things that need to be said, because like you say, it's the whole makeup of the world that we live in, and it's been very, very narrowly presented on screen with what the military is, and that's not helpful because it doesn't educate for those people that don't know.
Yeah, and that was the struggle with my team, was that I had to teach them, like bring them in to the fold and teach them like what it actually was, and that was my goal the whole time. And then once they got it, that they were just right there behind me, like, no, like, yeah, I know that's what you think it is, but like, trust us, trust Paige, like, this is what it actually is, So like, originally our AFI thesis, because we have to write a treatment and get it greenlit at the school. Originally, I didn't get it greenlit. And this is not, I love AFI. They taught me a lot. This taught me a lot. So this is not a bash. Just putting that out there. I'm going to put that buffer out there. It did not get greenlit at first because they told me that it was a story that had been told before. Like, we've seen these kind of stories before. And I had to fight, like, being like, no, you haven't. Like, first of all, you haven't seen it from a female perspective like this. And that's a totally different take on the world and how the world is navigated, whether you're male or female or non-binary or any of that. Second is, you haven't seen it in the way that I'm gonna tell it. Like, you've seen the Hollywood version. Like, there's a few movies that get it pretty damn close. And I'm always impressed, and I'm very grateful to the filmmaking team that made those. But yeah, that was a struggle, and that was a very long answer.
No, Paige, this is all, listen, I'd rather us talk about this because everything you're bringing up is super, super important, because what it does tell people is like how to follow your instincts and follow the story that you want to tell. I want to just, going back to why the movie is called Guide On, which, there's the misogyny, but also the stereotype of like what a person that carries the guide is. And, it's so much more than physical strength, even though the character has tremendous physical strength, but it's also, she had by far the greatest, beyond physical strength that she had the greatest mental strength, to take on that job like you did. And for me, I mean, I think that was something that should not be understated when you're in a position in the military, male or female, that is part of what should be celebrated. It hasn't been told from the female perspective. And I was so grateful that you showed this very strong, mental, great human being that was serving her country. At the same time, the human behind that as well, because you're all humans too. You know what I mean? And that was so beautifully articulated.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you did it, Paige. Paige, I just, I could talk to you for hours. I really can't wait until we get to have more conversations and welcome you to New Filmmakers LA. But given the kind of way we've gone with this, this interview discussions, very important ones too, I'd just love to know a couple of last things. One, what are the stories that you would like to continue to tell? And then with that being said, what is next for you?
I have found, via trial and error of making many different stories, that I tend to really gravitate towards and really shine when it is a story that is inspirational. I genuinely, just outside of filmmaking, I just genuinely love to help people. And I love when people find what they're passionate about and go for it. I love to try to get people that feel lost or feel like they're not sure what they want out of life, or they feel like they're not living it to the fullest, or whatever it is that they're going through. Like, I really just genuinely love to help them try to figure that out, or at least give them some tools to figure it out along their journey. And so when it comes to stories that I tell, the ones that I really, really love are the ones that have that kind of a core message of live your truth, follow your dreams, be true to yourself, live life to the fullest, take risks, all of that. So that's my bread and butter. And then in the future, I mean, I'm coming straight out of film school right now. So it's a lot of fishing lines in the water, seeing what catches. I have a feature written. I have I guess we considered a web series, like a 10 to 15 minute episodic show that is based off of what we were talking about with the stories that are not told in the military, very excited about that one. And then yeah, I've submitted to a few programs, with other institutions, and just kind of keeping my fingers crossed, keeping my ear to the ground, and seeing what comes my way.
Well, I know from just experiencing Guide On that I'm really excited to see more of where your vision and your care takes us. And I really, really love that you made a film that was not in the majority percentage of what we see in military films. I'm so glad you shone a light on that. From the female perspective, from just not actually in combat, but just something that was so meaningful and meant so much to people that have been in that experience, or just learning from that experience, or just feeling the heart and human connection from that experience. And I'm so glad, because it was a really, really fantastic story. And I shan't forget it. I should be thinking about, and hopefully this will be an inspiration to many more, many more divisions that actually, have more people, more females leading the way in these positions, because those things need to change too, or no matter who you are. So thanks so much, Paige. Again, thank you for your service. Best wishes on set, and please keep making more movies for us.
Yeah, no problem. I'll do my best.
Thank you very much, Paige. Appreciate you.
Thank you.